Welcome back to the Lords of Lore podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm also Matt.
Nice. Matt's back
It's
to
never
talk
going
about
away
some to talk about some Vox Machina, the season finale, I guess, as well as
my
episodes 11 and 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a assortment of episodes here. Let's just get your initial thoughts. What do you think of this trio of episodes?
I mean, I hope you have time for like a 2-hour podcast. 'Cause, like, holy shit. I mean, these episodes they delivered a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice seeing them in 3 episodes at a time. Like, it's a mini movie every time you get to go in and watch, rather than like waiting half an hour or watching half hour than waiting week by week. Man, I mean, the animation the whole time, incredible. The action choreography, insane, so cool. The Stylus Grog fight, the Stylus Pike fight, all of that stuff. Holy shit, that's
again, we talked about it last time you were on, but the blend between 3D like CGI and hand-drawn animation there is like you could still tell, but like it's so well done that it's pretty seamless. I can tell that they're 2 different mediums, but while I'm watching it, I can appreciate how well it's blended.
I almost didn't notice the 3D at all, honestly. Like, until you just mentioned it, I didn't think about it whatsoever. I just was like, man, this all looks so good together.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Is if it's not breaking your immersion, that's when it's done well, you know?
Yeah, it was really, really well done. I mean, man, that's just a lot. Like, right off the bat, dealing with Dr. Ripley and revealing the backstory about the torture and all that stuff. And the demon in Percy, you slowly get more of a glimpse of as the episode goes on. I would just like to say I called it. Didn't trust Cassandra last week.
Yeah.
And we got it.
Yeah.
Not her fault, obviously. She's being mind controlled, but her locking them in that acid chamber is crazy. Like, what a insane device that is. I don't know who decided to build that, but like, holy shit.
They build it to break down the white stone and turn it into residuum, which is this is just minor spoilers, not really though, because by this point in the campaign we're aware of it. But residuum is like because we've talked about them not being able to say specific D&D things. Residuum in the game can substitute any sort of cost for like a spell. So say for like Revivify, you need 300 worth of diamond. You can use 300 worth of residuum.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's cool mechanically, but also it's like just pure like arcane source, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. And it was funny. Last time you and I were talking about Vox Machina, and you're like, I don't trust Cassandra. And I was just like trying to be quiet about it because I was like, you're absolutely right. Because very similar to how it played out in the game. She's sort of being controlled by them. And that scene with the acid tank, it's funny because like it's not how I imagine that room looking, just because when I'm listening to the game, I'm also like working or whatever the case is. So but it like to see it in this form, I was like, oh, this is so perfect. Like now I get the full scope of what's going on. Percy melting down, like
it was like the amount of humanity that they gave this like cold Percy character throughout these 3 episodes was awesome, because every time his sister is involved in anything, like he immediately snaps back to being that little brother, like the older brother character who's like, shit, I left my sister behind. Him freezing at the door as she's like leaving. I mean, Vex having the same issue as Vax is like leaving as well.
Yeah.
I think I got their names the right way around. Right?
Yeah.
Vax is Liam. Vex is Laura.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. That was really cool. And to see Percy just repeatedly want this demon taking over. And every time his sister is involved, he like has this massive internal struggle.
I also love the reverse of that, where Percy gets sliced by Stylus and Cassandra has sort of that same moment. Albeit not with a demon. And we get the flashback there of her watching Ripley torture Percy. There's one thing I want to say for people who are watching this that have seen the full campaign. and I will try to remain as spoiler free as possible. But the very beginning of this episode is like, you're a fan of Star Wars, so there's a moment in Star Wars Episode 3 where Anakin goes to the Senate building and stops Mace Windu from killing the Emperor. And every time I watch that movie, I'm like, man, don't go, because this is where everything starts to go wrong. This is the action where, and there was a point in the beginning of this episode where, for spanning out the rest of the campaign, I'm just like, Percy, just pull the trigger, man. Just fucking do it.
I mean, like, as soon as she runs away, and they were like, she runs away as they're fighting at the ziggurat, and then they get outside, and Vex goes and asks the keeper, like, did anybody see her leave?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I feel like this is going to be the last we see of her, and it's like, of course not. Like, it's a character with deep emotional ties to one of the main player character backstories. Like, that character will come back at some point. I'm excited to see when, because I'm sure that'll be really cool to see Percy have to struggle with that thirst for vengeance again after he seems to have kind of like gotten over it in the finale of the episodes.
Right.
So I can't wait for that. Again, there's tons of episodes to that campaign, so I have no idea what that would come, but I'm excited to hopefully see it someday. I
won't say exactly when that comes back up, but that character in the campaign goes similar to what happened here on screen. So definitely at the beginning of it, I was just like, fuck, just do it, man. I am weaker than Percy. I cannot forgive easily.
Like, honestly, wow, he did a really, really good job of being a bigger person in this scenario. 100%. I mean, especially after they're in that acid chamber and Cassandra's name shows up on his gun out of nowhere. It's God. Like, oh shit. Oh no.
Such a great reveal.
Just that mechanic of the gun, like, and then the same thing when he's like fully possessed, basically fighting the Vox Machina. And all of their names start appearing on the barrels as well. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Just him being possessed by a demon, I don't know if it's over really. I know they threw the gun away. And I liked that bit where Scannon's like, honestly, I guess I had no idea this thing was still in there. I just wanted to get rid of it. Like, I don't know if it's going to be fully done, because obviously he still wants revenge on like Dr. Ripley, and I mean, there's so much.
I won't say too much about that, but it's really cool how it plays out, because essentially, like in D&D mechanics, Percy's pure fighter, but he takes the feat that lets you I can't remember what it's called, but you get like one spell and one cantrip from a certain spellcasting class.
Magic initiate feat.
Yes, that's the one. And so he chose Warlock. But he's not.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. There it is.
Opposed to like the subclass or multi-classing into Warlock. So I can't remember exactly what the levels look like as the campaign progresses, but it wasn't quite spec into Warlock. So there was the ability to break that sort of connection type of thing. But really throwing the gun in the acid was like a big thing in the campaign, because
I bet
Taliesin, like at the table, was like, no. He's so many resources to make that shit. And it has to make a new one type of thing, which is like inferior a little bit. But just because it took so long to make the pepper box. It's pretty awesome to see that on screen.
He also like took what appeared to be like a failed
like a prototype.
A failed prototype from Ripley. That was in her bag. So I don't know, because at the end of the third episode you see him building a new pistol, and I don't know if he used that to build part of it or if he just like used his own new designs. I don't know, but I'm glad he didn't just like stop using guns. Like, that would have been lame. So I'm glad. I am excited to see where he goes from here in terms of weapons and stuff. It's always part of the fun of D&D is like continuously getting new weapons and gear for your character to use.
And remember, we did see bad news at one point in this show.
Yep. He blows the giant's arm off. And I mean, Grog picked up Silas's sword.
Ooh,
which he looks at the blade and he gets lost in the blade a little bit, and it's just screaming like sentient weapon or something to me, and I'm just like, oh no.
It very well could
Oh
be.
no.
It's one of it's a really, really cool fucking arc that takes. So I won't spoil that here. But
that's fair. I mean, the show so far has completely won me over in terms of like, I just want more now. Like 100%. I'm in. The characters are all great at this point. Like, I've gotten enough backstory and emotional beats and, you know, relationships being developed that I'm like, I care about these characters. I want them to be happy. I want them to succeed. I want them to not die, where it seems like once every 2 or 3 episodes, someone needs to be like on the critical verge of death. And I mean, the Keyless scene as she gets blasted by Delilah and is so like basically dying. And then Vex is like, Pike, please, like, help. And then she just disappears right in front of their eyes. I was like, oh,
yeah, I loved how that all sort of came together, because all like the magic and stuff being canceled out by the spinning death orb. Which again, like, for people who have seen the campaign, like, you know exactly what that is and what it does and the implications of that. But I think it's cool.
Terrifying to me.
Yeah. Seeing that holy man go down there at the end of the episode,
it's his skin ripped off and then disappears into nothingness. It's like,
and then we do get a glimpse at the Whispered One, I think they call him in the show. So I will continue to call him that and that only.
Oh, okay. So he's got more names too.
He might have a few.
All right.
But it's really cool to see that again. Ties into some later down the road campaign stuff, but to see like the physical representation of that in this show was really, really cool. I also wanted to talk about Keyleth, because we talked a lot about the Pike moment, and I thought this Keyleth moment was like pretty on par.
I got chills. I definitely had chills. Like, whatever, just that entire, I don't want to say the full scene, but like that single sequence of Grog like grappling and holding Stylus back with the crazy just sunbeam or whatever, where he just gets annihilated as he screams. And they did the classic anime thing where the background goes to white and you see the character's silhouette like disappear with the light beams as it goes through. And I was like,
and then he just like Endgame or Infinity War, just like love that. I love Grog, just real man to hug.
Dude, Grog was incredible all 3 of these episodes. Like, I know I've heard stories about like Travis like enjoying Grog, but not always enjoying the low intelligence, because I felt like sometimes he didn't always get to really like interact with the party and in like social circumstances the way that he might have wanted to. But I mean, like, in the acid chamber and they're like screwed and like, oh, we got to get to the bottom of the acid, and he just immediately strips. He's like, I'm going in, and he just dives straight down.
Such an awesome scene.
Like,
he's like, is my dick still there?
Pike's just like, still hanging low, buddy. Like, all right, this is an interesting turn for you guys' relationship.
No, I love, and like just him diving deeper as more of his skin just like plays off,
and the healing
Pike balancing it. It's so cool. So like, it's just fucking awesome to see D&D on like in an animated form.
You're like, this is exactly what a barbarian would do, and that's what a cleric would do. The barbarian would be like, I have a joke amount of HP. I can just rage while I go down here because I take damage every turn. So whatever, it's fine. I'll keep a rage going, and a cleric will heal me the whole time I'm doing it. So he, like, I mean, none of the other characters would have been able to jump into the acid. So like,
vapors real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to shout out Cam here too, because the way these episodes end, which is something that I think is really cool as someone who watched the full campaign, is again, like the first few episodes of this show were things we always heard about but never got to see played out in the game because they happened before the stream started, and they play into what we saw right at the end of these 3 episodes. And Cam, after we recorded our first review, was like, I think it's going to end with this, but I didn't want to say it because I think it's going to be a spoiler for people who haven't seen it.
Like, he was paying the money.
1,000%. Wow. Because I'm watching the episode and I had that in my head the whole time that, like, you know, Cam was predicting this thing, and sure enough, it's like the sovereign would like you guys to come to this ceremony. He starts talking, and in the game it happens the same way, where he relinquishes control to the council. And I was like, oh fuck, no, Cam was right. I texted him right away.
So
But
like
yeah.
I'm curious, like, so there's like 4 dragons attacking the city. I
Um,
mean,
yeah. It seemed
like,
that way, didn't it?
I mean, like, what? I don't. I hope. I'm just curious if it's going to be something that they show in like the next season as the next arc, or if it's just like a, you know, it's never a boring day for Vox Machina type of thing going on. I don't know entirely because I don't know what the campaign does, but
Yeah.
I mean that's just crazy. Like it's
Um,
fuck.
I would say if you would like an answer to that question, just rewatch the first 2 episodes of this show.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's I mean like the general talking about like the dragons and shit. So okay,
There's a specific like emblem in the general's
okay,
house that
okay.
might imply some stuff. Yeah,
See,
that's all. I
see.
don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet,
No,
but
fair enough. I mean, I would have never caught something like that without somebody like you from watching the campaign giving me the
yeah,
info drop on it. So
yeah.
I'll take a look for that then.
I liked it in the way you're saying too, though, is like, yeah, never a dull day for like, in a D&D party, really.
Yeah,
Something's
exactly.
always sort of going down. But yeah,
They
this
skipped the shopping episode anyways.
yeah.
So
Yeah. What are some other things you liked about these 3 episodes?
um, I think the Vex and Vax stuff was really big for me in this episode
Yeah.
because
Oh, for sure.
Vex for so much of the show has really been like a I'm just doing this so that we don't all die type mindset most of the time.
Mhm.
And then with Vax, she was like, I'm getting my brother back. Like, I don't care. Like, we're
Right.
doing this. Percy, you need to wake the fuck up because your sister's not the only one who's been taken away. So, like, we need to get this show on the road.
Yeah.
And their fight where like they're just dueling it out and she's
It's
trying
so
not to do
brutal.
any real like damage. Like she's
Yeah.
using all her like unarmed fighting and stuff. And so like in D&D mechanics, she's not dealing any real damage that entire
Right.
time. She's basically
Yeah.
just trying to survive. Meanwhile, Vax is like taking gash out of her arm, taking a gash out of her cheek, like stabbing her in the shoulder. And you're like, wow, this is an intense fight.
It's so sad to watch because like obviously that relationship is super close in real life between Liam and Laura, but
Yeah.
also like I think I said maybe in the reviews that Cam and I did, I just finished reading Kith and Kin, which is the backstory of Vax and Vex, and to see like the book is really well done in that it really feels like their characters before we see them in the campaign in a couple years before we're at where we are at now, but just to see like these 2 people be pit against each other is so sad. And then when she's like on top of him, like just feeding him shots, and she's like, like her eyes are closed. She's like, I don't want to do this. Just devastating. Yeah. And when they're finished fighting, and he's like, yo, I've had enough. And she gives him like the big hug. It's just like sad,
Yeah, I like that line. She's like, I was ready to kill you right now. Yeah. He's like, yeah, my face believes it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it was good. And then, I mean, part of me really does want to go back and watch the actual campaign episodes for it as well. Because I would just like to see how like Liam plays through that experience of being mind controlled for the majority of that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Just like seeing what he has to go through. Because I know that as a DM, sometimes it always feels kind of shitty to like take away player agency and like mind control and use them and stuff like that. But I mean, I also know from watching the other Critical Role stuff that like Liam is great as a player. So I can't imagine he would have been like annoyed the whole time. But yeah, I think it would be cool to just see what he was doing.
It's funny you mentioned that because like I actually don't remember what those sessions were like when he was under that control, but I do remember from the second campaign a very similar thing happened to Liam's character.
And
he played it so fucking well that I was convinced he was like a double agent from like the very beginning of the campaign.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I do know a bit about Caleb's backstory because I think that was like the area of the campaign too where I started to care a little bit and then stopped watching like 4 episodes later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Pike was incredible in the fight.
Oh, so cool.
Just the entire another thing that I thought was super cool was Delilah silencing.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too.
Scanlan. I was like, that's genius. Like
that
is absolutely the way to deal with a bard if you're in any sort of a combat.
See, for me, it's it's one of the most underrated spells in D&D because it's the
absolutely.
way to deal with any spellcaster who has to use verbal components. A sorcerer, maybe not,
Yeah, because
but
they just use silent spellcasting or like
wizard or warlock, like
yeah.
throw them in a silence. Is it cone of silence, or I think it's like
I
a
think
radial.
it's like a dome type
Yeah,
setup. Yeah,
put them in there. That's at least 2 turns they fucked, or they have to
Yeah.
use their dash or whatever the fuck.
to get out of
But
it.
yeah, it's so effective. And I don't know, it's fucking. I love that
Scanlan
spell.
just using it again on her
Yeah.
later as well when she's fighting Pike. I was like,
Oh,
well
I
done.
loved it.
Well
Yeah,
done.
I can't remember if that happens in the game or if he just counter spells her. I think it might be, but I preferred it this way.
Yeah,
where
this
he
is
gives
funny.
her the
He
same.
gives her the shush back. Just
So
the pure
good.
cheek on Scanlan. So
Yeah.
good. I mean, Scanlan again. The Bigby's hand is, or Scanlan's hand as they're flying above the acid. Him realizing that like the orb nullifies magic. I mean, also the Scanlan's hand above the acid where he realizes that he has to like work harder and he just rips out like a metal riff and just starts fully shredding his loot.
Brings out the pick of destiny.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, did you catch the moment where he was like shredding on the guitar and
there's another little
smaller?
Well,
oh my god, so sick.
I was like, oh man, you make a bard look beyond cool.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they're done saving the day, he's immediately hitting on people again.
Exactly.
He hit on Cassandra at one point while they're walking to the castle, and Percy's like, absolutely.
No. Not happening. Oh, I also loved like Cassandra's really good in in these 3 episodes, because obviously there is that turn, and then when we see that she's being controlled, then it sort of takes away from the sting and the hurt of it, but still you're like, fuck off, I'm trying to help you. But at the end, and it's very similar to how it plays out in the game, where Percy forgives Delilah, but Cassandra absolutely does not.
Yes.
And that
I
moment
love
is
that
so
line
good.
too. I love that line. Just it's just like such a perfect way for Delilah to die. Because obviously Percy did suffer and had some bad times, but clearly, I mean, you can see that Stylus was using Cassandra for like feeding as a vampire, like all the marks on her neck and stuff. So she has clearly not exactly had a good time living with the Briarwood.
And they were going to sacrifice her too.
Yeah, they were gonna. Was it both her and Vax? They were gonna.
No,
sacrifice?
So before they had Vax, because there's Delilah says something along the lines of, now we have a
spoiled for choice.
Yeah, exactly. So
that makes sense now.
Yeah,
makes sense.
They're just the worst.
They really were. They really were.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're dead. I'm still not entirely convinced that they're both permanently dead, because if you work for something called the Whispered One, and there's some long dead ancient undead thing that wants to come back, and he supposedly had the power to raise Stylus from the dead anyways, it's possible that they might just come back again. So
you think like a dungeon master, I'll say that.
Look, you know what, a plot point is never gone. All right, it's always there for narrative use whenever you want it.
I love that.
Just watching Delilah die was definitely pretty satisfying. And it felt good for Delilah. I liked how Percy was smiling at the end as well, when they see the sentry kind of like lit by the sun in the sky once more, and you just see like a happy person. You're like,
for the first time, pretty much. Like
he's not scowling, he's not annoyed with somebody, he's just smiling, living.
And I love the way it's framed too. Like there's a shot where it's like him from above, and it sort of makes him look smaller. Just sort of like, like he's getting like his youth back. He's back where his youth is sort of ripped from him with what happened to him, and this is like the first time he's been able to be like, I was a kid who grew up here. And not be fighting for his life. It was a really nice moment. And the tree stride, or what's it called?
I have no idea. I've never played a druid before, but Keyleth being able to like transport through trees like that, super cool. I had no idea. It becomes a big,
it's really cool because in the campaign, I think it's right here, or it's right here where she learns how to do it, like around this time in the campaign. So it was really cool to like, and there's a part of the show that's missing for me, is that Keyleth actually talks to trees and they talk back, and Matt will do like a silly tree voice, and the Sun Tree has like a very distinct like Chester Cheeto voice. Like he's like, oh hey,
I'm so sad that's not in there.
I was waiting for it like every turn,
dude hanging out. Oh no.
Oh yeah, no, come right through me. It's like, it's so funny, but it made sense as I watched this last scene where she interacts with the Sun Tree, in that anytime she like speaks to the Sun Tree, the conversation will end and then she'll say something out loud about having spoken to the Sun Tree. So I guess like watching the
It's just in her
game,
head, maybe.
that's all to her and no one else is
Yeah.
really getting that. So it makes sense that like as viewers of the show, we're not getting it, but I miss that voice because every time she goes to the Sun Tree to get back to Whitestone or whatever or leave, it's always like, oh, hey, just passing through, you know?
It sounds so great though.
Yeah.
I mean, funny voices are like part of the fun of being a DM, you know?
Yeah.
Flex and sound ridiculous for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? We go over like, I mean, so the gun is gone.
Gun's gone. Grog's got a new sword.
Pike
sword. Is, restored. Keyleth
back
is
at the temple for now, at least.
I like how we're still sort of just hinting towards the relationship between Keyleth and Vax. Like she sort of shuts it down.
Having
here.
that like awkward kind of Vax being like, I'm gonna walk away now.
Yeah.
Just turns and leaves. Or like, no,
it's really funny because Liam does this thing in the game where people will be having like an intense conversation and he'll just go, I walk away. And everyone's like, man, fuck. Like he does it every time. So for like the character to verbalize it here is fucking hilarious.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah. I'm very excited. It was really cool to see this thing I watched and was just like lived in my head. Obviously like lived with me and a bunch of people who enjoyed the campaign, but to see it here and like to share it like with someone like you who like, otherwise wouldn't really know this story. It's just really cool to be able to like have everyone now have access to this story type of thing. So yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on the series as a whole?
Yeah, I was going to say overall for like an entire season, I thought it was really great. It started at a point where I didn't really know anything about the characters and didn't know if I wanted to care about them or really give a shit about their journey. And by the end of the season, I was like, this was really great. I care for the characters. I want to see more. I'm really curious what kind of future story arcs there will be. And I know that I could spoil them if I really wanted to, just to like go and watch the campaign or look up, I'm sure, the endless fan site Wikipedia articles about characters and stuff. I'll be honest, like I had to take a look at Percy's Wikipedia page just because I wanted to know more about the demon. I'll be honest. I was like, who is this Orthax? Like, what is he about? Makes pacts of vengeance. And I'm like,
I forgot even to talk about the Orthax fight. Fucking so different than how I imagined it. It's so much better. It was so cool.
It looks so incredible.
Yeah. But like just the way he's like moving around, it's just such like a very like Venom sort of relationship between Percy and Orthax. Yeah. So fucking cool.
Yeah, we should talk about that a little bit because the movement was something I pointed out immediately. I was like, that's insane looking. Like it's terrifying looking. It's clearly just this demon, and the mask is on, and when he first puts the mask on in that chamber to fight, there's this awful grin on his face as he puts it on.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, man.
Terrifying.
And then the smoke constantly going out, and like when Keyleth revives and points it out, like, guys, that's a demon, and you see. The mask is on, but then like the black smoke like opens up to the mouth of the demon and the glowing eyes and everything quickly just washes over his face. Just the interaction of the smoke like changing his dynamic, like his appearance as they were fighting and the way that it was like blocking people's attacks and stuff. Wild. It was so cool. Oh my goodness. And like him threatening to shoot himself because he didn't know what else to do. I was
my god, that was so intense. Yeah.
It's like please don't.
And the smoke like won't let him do it. Oh my god,
like he's holding the trigger back so he couldn't. I was like, this is insane. Like what a fight.
I also love the cuts between like what's going on in his head in this like demon world. Of like reliving his traumas and stuff. And then I was like, to see like what he's actually doing, and he's still saying the same things out loud. People are like, yo, what is going on with Percy?
He's just freaking out, thinking that he's trying to like kill his family's murderers and his visions, and he's actually just shooting at all of his friends. Like, this is incredible. I was taking notes as a DM 100%. I was like, this is gold, man. This is incredible.
Have you read Old Man Logan, the comic book?
I've not read the comic book, no.
Okay.
I do know that storyline, and specifically the thing you're referencing to, where the reason that most of the superheroes are dead, or the X-Men themselves at least are dead, is because gets tricked by Mysterio into just
Yes,
like
yeah.
thinking that all the villains are attacking the mansion, and he like the illusion comes down and he's got his claws through like Kitty Pryde or something, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like
Yeah.
that's so sick.
It gave me very much those vibes.
Yeah, and it's a great like thing. I was happy as well that Grog didn't succumb to the mind control again. I was
just
like,
closes his eyes.
if we're gonna continuously just have poor Grog fight the party because he's a big dumb barbarian, that would suck. And then I mean, Stylus.
That's another D&D mechanic we saw, is like, when you're fighting the basilisk or the Medusa, just avert your gaze, but now you have disadvantage, but he just swings wildly and still hits.
And he's a barbarian, so he's like reckless attacking. So he just cancels out the disadvantage, and it's just a
exactly.
attack. It was so good. I was kind of hoping Stylus would do a little bit more hand-to-hand fighting, because that shot where he punches Keyleth after blocking his attacks, and it was super anime, where he like slams down his sword to break her guard and then just like Falcon punches her across the chamber. I was like, so cool.
Yeah, I love that.
But season as a whole, very, very good. Overall, it felt like the quality really held up episode to episode as well. It wasn't like your Naruto's or something where you have episodes where it was pretty clear that they had a lot of the budget put away for these episodes specifically,
right?
And then you have the other like 3 or 4 filler episodes to make up that budget gap where the characters are standing still and their mouth just goes like up and down 20 times in a conversation with no other movement to save money. So that was nice to see. I'm just really excited for more at this point. I'm like, I'm
not sure what the release schedule is, but
it's got confirmed at least, so that's good with me. I hope that they do more episodes, maybe, if we get the opportunity. I don't know. Like, I'm assuming they're not crowdfunding the second season, or was that a part of
No, so I think the crowdfunding was for the first season, and then once they had the first season in the works, then I think is when Amazon came on and picked it up for a second season. So I think it'll be funded the second season by Amazon. I would gladly crowdfund another season of this.
I was gonna say, like, if it can keep the same level of quality, 100%, let's go. Like, I have zero issue tossing a couple dollars towards something like that, because it must have just been really fun for Matt and the crew to work on it as well. Like, obviously, when they wrote these characters, they put a lot of time and effort and like emotion. And I mean, usually for me as a player, if I'm writing an interesting character, it's because there's a part of myself in the character that I've created. So I'm sure, like, for the cast, getting to bring all of these characters together and live to a screen and for a wider audience than what their campaign would have been must have been really, really special. And I mean, for Matt specifically, probably super rewarding. I mean, as a DM, the concept of anything that I create being picked up and animated in a way like this is like,
I even think like a thing they do on the show, like to this day, is in the breaks when, because they stream for 4 hours, they take a break in the middle. They'll show all the fan art they get every week. And there's sometimes like hundreds of pieces that come in a week. And I know for them, that was like, I remember watching the episodes where they get their first fan art and they're like, this is incredible. And then it never stops. And so like, even for me, like as a DM, like even commissioning people to draw my characters or whatever the case is, like that for me is like such a unbelievable experience where you're just like, this is like a physical representation of this thing that lives inside mine and my friends' heads. So to have this, like for Matt, like to have this like whole world you created be on screen and something now that like a wider audience can like pull apart and like really live in is like, and will go down probably in history as one of the like most known fantasy worlds, which seems like a stretch, but like, I mean, Critical Role is huge.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like they obliterated all of their Kickstarter goals. Like they trashed every single goal that they put out, basically, to the point where they were adding new goals in, I think, as they were going, because it was just like, guys, you're giving us too much money. Like we need to do something with it. So it's basically living the dream as a DM, and to have what I can assume to be a lot of creative input in all of the artwork and stuff, where you can basically take stuff like the fan art that people have created for you, and then also like your own artistic vision as the writer and the creator of everything that you've seen with your friends, just being able to basically get the perfect, or at least as perfect a representation as you could wanted. And I mean, yeah, I'm happy for them in general. Like they all seem like really sweet people. So it's
Yeah.
just nice to see them like get to have fun and be happy and successful in this kind of way.
And it's nice to see D&D get a win.
Yeah,
Like
man,
obviously
D&D's
it's just
so cool.
it's such a successful property, but it's so maligned by like modern media for being this thing that like only weird people do in their mother's basements. And that's true, but also
it is absolutely true. That was the first way that I played
Yeah.
D&D is it was in parents' basements. That's
Absolutely.
just the way it worked.
That's how I still play. And and just for it to be like this thing that's like one of the most successful Kickstarters of all time. One of the like, thing that people like thousands of people watch every week is just like so cool to me that like this hobby now is being blown up to the point where like we have big production studios taking on these projects. I don't know.
A gamble. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's just like seeing things like this and just in general, the recent kind of last 20-ish years where I guess like nerd culture has become a really big kind of just pop culture trend that's fairly accepted by most people at this point. I mean, like the Marvel movies obviously are
huge,
widely successful with some of the most, I think they have 4 or 5 of the top grossing films in like the top 10 of all time or something.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So it's nice to see them, things like studios like Amazon branching out and taking, maybe a slight gamble in theory. This probably wasn't much of a gamble in terms of one season has been crowdfunded so successfully. We'll just straight pick it up for a second one. But it does give me faith that more cool genres or like
properties could
properties could,
well, even the crowdfunding aspect of it too, right? Like Critical Role is huge, don't get me wrong, but there are other big things that have huge fan bases where we can look at the possibility of now crowdfunding a first season for something that we want to be seen, and then it being picked up by Netflix or Amazon or Disney Plus or whatever the case may be. So it's really cool to see, like, this started as a bunch of people playing a game, and now it's on Amazon Prime. It's just unbelievable.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Like I talked about it on the show yesterday, but it gives me hope as a Cosmere fan with the Brandon Sanderson books that we could get something even animated like this someday. Because it'd be special.
I know they've made if not just minis, maybe STL files that they sell for the characters in the Stormlight archives. I'll send you that link.
Please do. Please do.
But yeah, so cool. I think that'll do it for us here. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. It's always a blast.
Awesome to share this and talk to you about Vox Machina. But for people who want to hear more from you, you'll be on our main show this coming Tuesday when people are seeing this video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I know you don't have social media though, right?
No. So you guys can just hit me up in the comments. I'll check.
Right on. And stay tuned. If people want to check out our main show, again, that's every Tuesday, and reviews for random shows that we feel like reviewing. But also you can check out our D&D game that Cam, who you've seen reviewing on this channel, ran for us, called Lords of Lore Adventures. Welcome to Ryandal. And stay tuned for ruminations and stuff that we're going to do, book reviews and all that stuff. Again, Matt, thanks for coming on. As always, problem. I'm Matt. This is also Matt.
Matt. Yeah.
And we are the Lords of Lore.